Part 3 ending to the outlet to our marriage. Other parts down below. She just unloaded on me, folks. Basically, used me as a therapist even though she's been in therapy for years now. She spent more than half an hour poring over her mistakes and how much of a sociopath he really is. Chillingly, she said a statement my W made: he's only good at two things: surgery and deception. He has nothing else to offer anyone. She was his AP some years back. She was working in administration at the hospital he's at now, and they would come in contact in staff meetings. She was a runner and triathlete like him, and that was his angle. She said he showed up at her gym a few times, and they soon began going for runs after work. She said they first got together physically at a run out of town. Again, chilling to hear this, as I suspect he had similar plans for my W. Unfortunately for this lady, she and her hubby weren't happy and he rarely went to her events. She said the OM enticed her to his hotel, and that was that. She said they would often find events out of town and just spend the night together. His wife at the time caught them when she showed up at a run to surprise him. She saw them together and followed them back to the hotel. It was ugly is all that she would say. He actually broke up his first wife's engagement. So, if you're keeping score, this is now 4 known ruined marriages, and at least one, mine, in recovery. She says he had side pieces all over, but yes, almost all had the same persona: married, family lady, mothers, clean, etc. She knows it was the conquest and the thrill of it all. He almost always made a point to meet husbands, did in my case, and played the all-American guy card well. On the affair that ended her marriage to him, she was growing suspicious about his on-call hours. She started looking at his schedule versus drive times and so forth, and he had several unaccounted for hours most of his call weeks. He contacted his office manager and asked if she'd seen anything. She told her point blank he's talking to a lady in medical records a lot. I caught her leaving his office recently when I got back from lunch. Seemed odd. His ex-wife said she threatened to kick the hell out of his manager for not telling him. She asked her to keep watch and call her if she saw anything else. So, she did. While in the act, OM didn't know his manager saw them. He got careless for once. She must have been really good. Ex-wife was called, showed up, and got them on video. They had to pull her off of both of them, is her story. As I told his ex-wife my story, she just lost it, sobbing like crazy. She said it sounds just like her story with the exception of my W having stronger will or whatever. This lady has an unbelievable amount of guilt and shame still coursing through her. She's turned her life around, though very active in her church, and started her own gym and training company. I told her I'd love to bring him to his knees, but that my main focus was restoring my marriage. She says she'll help if she can. She has plenty of evidence and knows of a couple of other women after her that fell prey to him. The problem is the head administrator is his absolute best friend and advocate. And, sickening, had an affair before the OM with the lady he's with now. That's right, the administrator had a fling with her sometime in 2012, just before OM got to her. She said that has happened since as well. This guy deserves whatever he gets, for certain. I'll do some checking, but this may be the sort of thing a licensing board needs to hear. I'm going to tread lightly though. I'm not planning on exposing my W through this. Their affair has been over for 6 years and our children don't need to know these things. She's always been an outstanding mother, no need to tarnish that just to try to speed up karma. He was forced to stop working at the hospital my W was at though, so it at least narrowed down his playpen. Unbelievable, this guy. I also don't feel sorry for her. She helped destroy 2 marriages. Listening to her talk, it sounds like she did plenty of pursuing herself. It sounds like her marriage was in far worse shape than mine ever was, and it didn't take much courting to reel her, and she just needed the right affair partner to come along. I mean, what, did she think she was just going up to his hotel room for a quick shower after their run? Of course not. I said it earlier, a good marriage does not mean an affair-proof marriage. We could get off on a tangent on this like the taco stand thread, but I get you more than you think. And I don't mind you reminding me lest any feelings that I somehow caused this creep back in. Oh, and I knew after I posted the remark about the ex-wife that you would respond. It's had me look and learn things about my wife in a drastically different light, to be certain. Healing will continue to take time, but some really big hurdles were crossed this week. We are both looking forward. We can and will still continue to discuss things that happen, but it's starting to take on a different feeling now. More of a lessons learned feel than a what the hell were you thinking feel. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Hug, call, connect with those kiddos today. For those fortunate enough to still have your father, don't forget about him today either. Quick update, we have our first MC session scheduled for this Thursday. He's highly recommended, so I'm hoping we get our money's worth out of this. We both are optimistic even though we know that some tough questions are forthcoming. Hoping this is another positive step for us. So, the Saturday breakfast I mentioned earlier. This past Saturday morning, my W woke me early. She asked if we could go to breakfast together at one of our favorite spots downtown. This is actually something we started doing late last year and had done several times this year, a breakfast date instead of a date night. This particular spot is in our downtown area and just a 2-block walk from the harbor. We found that it's a nice getaway from the hustle and bustle of a traditional date night. There are usually only a few folks out for a morning run, plus a few fishermen getting boats ready for the day. It's been a good time to connect and just stroll around, or even pray together down by the water if we wish, completely uninterrupted. Ironically, this is the same coffee house we met at when we went for the poly, and it's right around the corner from their offices. We never mentioned it as a potential problem. And honestly, it would be more of a trigger for her than me, so if she's good, so am I. She was almost eerily quiet on the drive downtown. I could tell she was in deep thought, but she also seemed relaxed, at peace. I had actually made up my mind that I wasn't going to talk about the affair or even recovery. I just wanted to go to breakfast and enjoy good company and talk later. She had other ideas. After a nice breakfast with some small talk about our work weeks, we headed down towards the harbor. She led me to the end of the longest pier and began just pouring out to me. Some of this we'd certainly touched on at length even, but she put it all together. All of her thoughts and despair, just put it all out there. She reiterated how broken she was over my hurt, and how every time she sees the pain in my eyes, she feels both helpless and disgusted with herself. She went on and on, walking through almost the entire affair timeline, talking through the text and the regrets she has and how sick she is that she shared those words and thoughts with someone else that should have been directed to me and me only. And then, something unexpected. She started talking about our marriage vows and how she had dishonored them. She walked through our vows, talking over each one in detail, pausing to cry her eyes out in between. She started talking about my wedding band, how cheap and old and just how bad it looked. You see, when we married, we were young and broke. I sank a good chunk of what I had into her engagement ring, leaving us with just enough to buy a cheapo department store special for me. I had actually talked about replacing it a couple of times within the past year. Well, she pulled a small cloth bag out of her pocket and pulls out this shiny golden ring. Nothing too elaborate, but a classy upgrade and just what I had in mind. She pulled off the old ring and with a broken, crying voice, stated her vows again, and asked me if I would simply be hers for life, that she knew we had much work to do and that our new journey is just beginning. But she wanted me to know she'll spend forever trying to live up to the second chance and the forgiveness that has been extended. It was quite a moment, to put it mildly, and it caught me completely by surprise. Yes, she's broken and broken badly. And you know what? That's a good thing, a positive thing, in terms of both our individual healing and the I told the story to my therapist during my IC session today, with more details than here. Sorry, some things are for Music Man only. And he was very excited and said that it's obvious that she's hearing the right things in her IC session, and she's actively trying to do her part and do the heavy lifting, and that she has taken 100% ownership. He did say that while we are ahead of schedule a bit, be prepared to take a couple of steps back for at least the first month of MC. Still, he said he can't envision a scenario right now where our R would fail, so long as we continue down the path that we're on and continue to face the pain and difficult issues head on. She followed that up with a long text Monday morning, reiterating some of the things we touched on over the weekend. And no, she isn't looking for sympathy or anything else from me. She's just doing her part, and so far, to this point, she's doing all that I could ask. Keep us in mind as we head to MC Thursday, hoping our MC is as good as our IC sessions have been. My hope in posting is that it will do two things, assuming of course, that we continue on the path that we're on. 1. Bring awareness to those in similar situations, be vigilant and listen to your gut. 2. Bring hope and show that some people do indeed wake up and actually stop things before it's too late. If people are more aware, if I had been more aware, they can stop things before they escalate. MC Session 1 is in the books. In a word, it was exhausting. Poring over everything all over again, particularly after an emotional weekend, was a bit much. What was to be expected? No new revelations, just a hard look into our marriage and into where we're at and where we are hopefully headed. Our MC is outstanding, better than I had hoped. Yes, having a male therapist was the way to go, thanks to those who recommended this. He separated us and had a bit of one-on-one time as well. He told me at the end of my one-on-one time that he felt 100% certain we'd recover to a better place than we've experienced, provided we both stay the course through the critical first year. He said he has no doubt that my W is sincere and fully understands the pain she has caused. He also mentioned that it was evident that our ICs are both high quality and that we've listened and learned. He said the main thing right now is to be patient and to be mindful of the dangerous thinking you are fully healed this early in the process. He told us that while tremendous progress has been made and we're clear of some significant hurdles, there will be bad days, some really bad days at that. The key is to remember that it's a marathon and not a sprint, and to forget timetables. No one, not even our counselors, can tell us when we should be healed. I feel confident that we're doing everything that we can do, and I feel very optimistic about things. Again, I can't thank the board enough for the sound advice and for sharing some of your own stories. I'll keep you posted as things progress. We'll be on vacation next week, full family. Oldest is home from college, so hoping for a chance to unwind and focus on normalcy for a change. Quick update: enjoying the first couple of days with the family at the coast. Just poolside and beach relaxing for a few days with no agenda whatsoever. We agreed to skip both IC and MC sessions this week, and all counselors agree that focusing on the family will be good for us. It's been nice, met up with a few friends that have kids that are the same age as ours. enjoying good food, drink, and laughter, the latter being something both of us sorely need right now. Looking forward to week of sand and sun, and we're both looking forward to continued healing. Deep breath. An interesting development taking place here, and unexpected. OM's ex-wife messaged me a little after dinner last night, asking if she could call me. Guys, I'm a little hesitant to even talk to her. She's a former wayward and all, and I don't need any new friends. Plus, even after our first convo, I'm unsure just how much I can trust her. Anyway, I told her to call in about an hour, so she did. BTW, my W knows I spoke with her earlier and I told her of this last night as well. If we're going to be transparent, well, we're going to be transparent. Bottom line, ex-wife feels guilty regarding my marriage situation and the others that have been outright destroyed, and who knows how many others that aren't known about or could be in jeopardy right now. She wants to bring awareness of his activities to the right people, credentialing and certification levels. She said she would share her video if necessary and was wondering if I would make a statement anonymously regarding my situation. She's seeking out others as well. I told her I'd like to help, but it will have to wait until I return from vacation. I also told her I'm not looking to drag my family through something to try to speed up karma, but I would love to see him reap the seeds of his destruction. Anyway, give me your takes on this. I want to hit this the absolute right way if I'm going to do it. My gut tells me the ex-wife is doing the right thing. I'm just not sure that I 100% trust her just yet. Ex-wife messaged us this morning. We asked her to message us jointly going forward. This is really a circle of people where the right hand didn't even know the left hand existed. We ended up having her call us and put her on speaker so we could get into all of this a little quicker. The ex-wife was able to reach out to someone in administration at his current hospital who was a former close friend and well-connected. She gave details to her that, quite frankly, should get her fired for spilling if you ask me. But that's another rabbit hole I don't plan on going down. It turns out that OM has already had more than one complaint filed against him, including one by the betrayed husband of the AP that the ex-wife caught in the act. This BH simply sent anonymous information to the HR department of both hospitals, and this is what eventually ran him off from the hospital my W used to work at. He and the AP, she was an employee of the hospital at the time, were questioned, and both declined a disciplinary hearing by electing to leave the hospital, she as an employee and he as a physician with privileges. They both still work together at his old hospital. She did confirm that OM and this AP are still together, living together, but he refuses to marry her. Lessons learned from him on the alimony front, I suppose. This brings us to the number one reason that the ex-wife is chasing this, and she said it point blank. She has extreme guilt for not sharing the news and knowledge of this affair with the BH. She had video proof and yet did not bother to let him know. If you recall, it was the BH's son who found them in his parents' bed and choked OM, and this is how the BH found out. The ex-wife says this guilt is eating her alive and she's simply trying to make it right, as best she can. The ex-wife said she knows from rumors, and this admin friend confirmed that OM is having a couple of other affairs with hospital employees right now, and she knows one of them fairly well and doesn't know the other at all. She's going to reach out to them and let them know she's contacting their, apparently, oblivious husbands unless they do it first, and she's going to try to use this as leverage to gain their help. As for us, this is all way too much drama for a couple trying to reconcile and for our own personal recovery. The ex-wife's admin friend also indicated that our situation, a texting affair from 6 years ago, would not really offer anything substantial and would really be too far in the past. Plus, it happened at a hospital that neither of them works at and haven't for years. We're not taking the easy road here, believe me when I tell you I want justice for this cat, but we're just in a different place now, and what my W could offer likely wouldn't help the cause other than to show a pattern. We asked her to update us with any significant developments, but we don't want this dragging us down or keeping either of us triggered. I want this guy's face and smug attitude out of my mind, and staying deeply involved in this is not going to help. Karma has indeed arrived, and man is it ever snowballing fast. I don't have the time right now, crazy busy at work, but I will post a full update tonight. Briefly, ex-wife messaged us again just moments ago. Said she knew we wanted to only be updated with earth-shattering news. Well, she has some. Hospital administrator's wife is involved now. One of their shared APs is singing like a canary. This is blowing up as I type this. Administrator's wife has gone to hospital board and straight to state. She wants them both fired and OM's license suspended. OM's ex-wife set off a time bomb this weekend, exposing OM's three current affairs. Got a few minutes here. So, OM's ex-wife, just EW going forward, knew of 2 affairs that he was having currently, based on rumors and her contacts. One lady she knew well when she worked there, one she didn't know at all. She contacted the one she knew first, telling her what she was trying to do. The lady confided that it was just a texting and flirting thing right now, but it was escalating. She said she did want to stop, just didn't know how, really. Stop texting. A few coworkers knew, and she thinks someone told her hubby. Her hubby was already suspecting something, and with the threat of the EW exposing her, agreed to tell the hubby. She's already told her story to administrator's wife as well. More on this later. She fits OM's Mo, married, 2 kids, early 40s, works at hospital, etc. Same game plan as with my W. Second AP was not as kind. She basically told EW to piss off. She said her marriage was crap and wanted to get caught. She did, however, out a third unknown. This one is of no use long-term due to attitude, but she did out the third AP and she is the one who crashed the party. The third AP has bridged the gap to the crooked administrator. She's bounced back and forth between them for a year or more. Even has a nickname among coworkers for it. They call her Ping Pong. Wow, just unreal. They need to shut this place down. Anyway, she isn't married, she's separated, and is hoping for divorce. So, she's a loose cannon with nothing to lose. Under threat of HR exposure by EW is taking no prisoners. She agreed to tell administrator's wife via phone. This all happened between Sunday evening and Monday morning. Admin wife, went crazy. Emails to BOD and state officials, naming both her hubby and OM, details given, asking for suspensions and resignations. She indicated to EW that it will happen. She is well connected and has threatened going to local papers, news outlets, and outing on social media. The administrator and his wife are late 40s, for context. He and OM are like brothers from what we are told. Sounds like she is ready to burn it all down. Never expected to hear things were moving this fast. I'm certain board reviews and hearings will take months, but it would be nice to hear of a suspension for both while the investigation takes place. OM's current live-in girlfriend, the AP that killed his marriage, has deleted her Facebook account according to EW. So, she likely knows and is in damage control. The fallout has started. My W and I would likely enjoy this more if we weren't connected in the way that we are. Still, I have a nice little smile on my face knowing this. Be sure your sins will find you out, and this guy has been busted. God has a way of handling things that is so much better than our ways. And to think it was really me pushing my W to clear up the past that started this snowball rolling. Perhaps my W finally telling the truth will be the vehicle that not only heals and reconciles our past, but also destroys an evil along the way and saves a few future marriages. Just a thought. My W and I spoke with our MC today. He's a very reserved gentleman, but he seemed positively giddy as we filled him in on the breaking news. He told us we were right to sit this one out and let the current APs do the dirty work. He said to use this as a way to bond together, but also for my W to use it to be ever more thankful that she had her eyes opened in time. A ruined marriage would have been bad, but to be ruined at the hands of this jackass, unbearable. We actually messaged her back right after my last post to ask her to let us know if he gets a true suspension or loses his license or something. Paid leave doesn't count, slap on the wrist. Otherwise, we're both sick of hearing about General Hospital episodes, so please leave us out of the updates and the details. Just glad to know he's at least being outed and will suffer embarrassment on at least some level. We're moving on. Besides, we got some pretty amazing news today concerning W's career. Wife is making waves and had been blessed once again. Amazing what God has done in her career since she left that cesspool, and is surrounded by good, honest, professional people. On her job front, it's all good news right now. I'll leave it up to her if she wants to divulge any of that, but things are going very well. What a difference it made for her to leave that cesspool she was in. Wow. Also, we did get a short message from OM's ex-wife, copied and pasted in full here, other than names. Hi guys, I know you said you only wanted to know if suspensions or similar were handed down. They have been. OM and admin are both out pending a state investigation. Admin has resigned and is moving to another state. OM can see patients in office but cannot operate or do procedures. Seeing as he was paid on a per-case basis, he's screwed. The skank he cheated on me with has moved out. He's alone and basically unemployed right now. Thought you both would want to know. Best wishes, and thanks for reaching out to me. I think we all have some sense of closure now. In love, ex-wife. That's it for me and wife with OM. We're closing the door on this guy, his ex, all of it. The present and the future is where our focus shall continue to be. My W thinks they were likely suspended as well, and their licenses will probably be suspended for a period of time if they are found to be complicit. If they found that the admin guy covered things up and the APs and other folks all knew, expect a full house cleaning. State won't blink. We didn't ask though, no longer want those details or news. The state is apparently kicking butt and taking names, so it's doubtful that they'll not deal with the APs. Either way, we don't plan on speaking with ex-wife anymore. She and my W have spoken at length and have parted ways amicably. No need to keep her in our lives, as it keeps memories and triggers alive that will be a hindrance. I actually think she'd like to be friends with us, as strange as it may sound, but that's just way too much drama for us. Moving on. Few months later, update a couple of things. As far as R goes, we are doing well. Yes, there are triggers, yes there have been tears shed, but it's honestly going as well or maybe a bit better than anyone could expect. No regrets on my decision to R. We've made a commitment and are taking the right steps. We are reminded daily of the beauty we once had, and the beauty we're headed towards. MC and IC continue for both of us and have made a huge difference. W is moving up a bit in career and is focusing on that, our marriage, and our family, not in that order. Not likely that she'll post here in the near future, but she is sharing her story with her staff, particularly the younger ones, to help others when and where she can. She continues to own this, and she's trying to use it for some good in whatever way she can. OM, our dear old OM, we had cut his ex-wife out of our lives in effort to just move on from this clown and focus on us. By now, you know when I last posted he was suspended from surgery but could see patients. Not anymore. He may be done, and it's likely that he is done in this state. He made most of the local news outlets a couple of weeks ago for felony assault. From what the news reports say, the husband of one of his recent APs came to his office and waited outside for him to confront him. Things got heated, and OM choked, strangled, punched this guy. There were eyewitnesses. One had to pull him off, and of course, said that OM jumped on him from behind after the poor guy was walking away. Charged with felony assault, license suspended, whole 9 yards. Since there are witnesses and security footage, and given his current state, the good old boy network can't help him. I'm sure he'll lawyer up and get the charges reduced, but he's done. I hate like hell that all of this happened to us, but I guess I take some level of satisfaction that my W finally confessing to me was the catalyst for this boss's destruction. I also hate that we can't seem to escape seeing his ugly ass mug, but I feel we've seen it for the last time. Once again, thanks all for the advice you've given. I'll be around in other threads and I'll update things here as they progress. Just think that no news is good news. I won't report for a while unless something unexpectedly goes south. A few months later, an update. I've not been around as much lately, mainly due to the busyness of life, but also because there are 1,000 ways to get triggered around these parts, and sometimes it's good to just step away for a bit. Things are going well with us and continue to improve. W is still doing things the right way and doing all that I could ask. We had a weekend away with the holiday this past weekend, and things felt good, just really good. I'm triggering less and less, and I'm continuing to work on myself through IC. There are still days that are hard. No one said this would be easy, but the good far outweighs the bad, and that's what I'd hoped for. If things continue on this plane, and I see no reason why they won't, then we're in store for great things. The real definition of texting is more of a graphic and detailed description of what folks would do to each other, along with dirty pictures. This falls somewhere between that and flirtatious talk. One of the biggest boundaries for me that was crossed, and one of the points that was a sticking point with me early on in counseling, is that she would start the texts about as often as him. Not the dirty stuff, but just the texts in general. That she would start texting him knowing full well where he would take it tells me that she enjoyed it whether she tried to steer it back or not. She still liked it, and that sucks. Believe me when I tell you that I've looked every angle possible with this thing. Thankfully, we've got an outstanding MC who hasn't given us an easy path on anything and took her to task on this. For the record, my W has owned this and has fully acknowledged the issue. She played a dangerous game, no doubt. She was extremely careless with our marriage and her career by continuing on. To her credit, once he moved the talks to trying to get her to actually meet him, she shut it all down and stopped texting altogether, other than to deny his requests and to tell him to stop. Still, it was her actions before this that led him to believe that he was given the green light to continue. Even though she kept saying I won't do that or whatever, by texting him again a few days later, even with a benign greeting of hey, what you're up to today? I have to tell you something funny about a patient or similar. Again, to her credit, she left that hospital. She basically did the things I would have asked her to do if I had caught her. She cut him off, then left the job. This move and the show of her realization of where things were headed most definitely saved us. If she had stayed there and continued with the progression of things, there's little doubt that a PA was on the horizon though. You can only play with fire for so long without igniting a blaze you can't control. I've ran the scenarios over and over, considered as many angles and aspects as a person can. And my answer? Well, it depends. Let me explain. If it was a PA that had multiple occasions of bonding in multiple locations over an extended period, with her only stopping if she got caught, then it would absolutely be over. No question about it. If it was a one-time thing and there was clear evidence that she was extremely remorseful and had cut it off, I tend to think I would give R a try. Somewhere between a small handful of physical encounters, then cutting it off. Hard to say. I would have to seek serious counseling and do some serious soul searching. If I was satisfied that she was fully remorseful, then I would consider R, but I'm just not sure if I could stomach the process. Someone here might take exception with my varied answers or take me to task by trying to separate the degrees of how serious one type of PA might be over another. There are differences though, and the mindset, level of remorse, and long-term desires of the wayward does make a big difference. At least it does for me, and that's all that matters in the end. Yes, I dodged one hell of a bullet. I'm glad I wasn't faced with having to decide. Sitting here looking at her and holding her by this glowing fire, she still makes me awfully happy. It would have been devastating to walk away, but I would have absolutely done so under the right circumstances. She knows it too. Leaving our home after D-Day shook her to the core. She also knows clearly that if any additional details come to light, or if I find that she's lied through any part of the discovery and reconciliation process, then we are through. I'm lucky it did not go physical, especially given that the AP was straight up crazy and had done this multiple times. Watching his demise has been eye-opening, to put it mildly. I had really good evidence with the texts, but I thought my heart was going to stop on the way to the Poly, in the parking lot, and during the Poly. Hidden truths. I have mixed feelings on her hiding it from me. Of course, I hate that she lied, and there's damage to the relationship in terms of trust. Still, like you mentioned, I take into account the years after leaving this mess, and that there wasn't a hint since then of any impropriety. On the other hand, I'm actually grateful that she waited to tell me. Our relationship was not in the best of shape then, and I would have also wanted to confront the and expose both of them. So, while the lying is a bad thing and cannot be rug swept, it helped to protect our children, who were much younger at the time, and I'm sure that, selfishly, she knew it would help her career to keep it under wraps. Another thing, the made a tactical mistake with a statement I mentioned several months back. When the texts had gotten dirty and the Ia was growing ever stronger, she asked him, after a string of texts, "What is this? What is this that we're doing?" His answer was nothing. Just having some fun, then said, blowing off steam, stressful work. Just a little fun. I'm sure his plan was for this statement to help let her guard down, but what it served to do was help to convince her that it was nothing serious, and in her mind, a fun, but naughty, thing, and it wasn't going anywhere. She had convinced herself that he wasn't serious either, that he really didn't want to do the things to her that he said. Then, by ramping it up to actually saying we need to meet somewhere, enough teasing and all that, it served to shake her and bring her back to reality. If he had a chance at getting her in bed, he blew it right here. She also has insecurities that date back to childhood that were never fully realized or resolved. We've dealt with that and the understanding is there. It's silly to think that someone so beautiful and talented would have insecurities, but they were there. They've been recognized and dealt with. She has also been vigilant since leaving that cesspool with regards to boundaries and shutting down even a mild compliment that could be construed as flirting. Her work environment is also 180 degrees from where she was. And here's the thing, I'm satisfied, 100%, that her boundaries are strong and that she's taken every measure to ensure this has no chance of ever happening again. As for whether or not she would be so forgiving of me, honestly, impossible to know for certain. Much like the question of what if she had a full-blown PA. I can hypothesize but will never know 100%. We've discussed it at length though, and my W feels as though she would eventually forgive. But again, hard to call this without experiencing it. My gut, I don't think she'd be as forgiving, but that has no bearing on my stance, and she knows my thoughts on the matter. We're hypothesizing here anyway. One thing is for certain, she'll never have to forgive me for something like this. OP's wife responds, I was in this thing before I really realized it. Some will call BS on that, I'm sure, but I certainly didn't seek him out or ever consciously think, geez, I think I'll have an affair. We had been texting as friends for a few months, and really, I was getting drawn in and had let my guard down without realizing it until much later. And as my DH has said earlier, there were no appropriate boundaries. Other than an occasional casual flirt from a doctor or coworker over the years, there was never anything of even mild concern. And when I say flirt, these things were things said out in the open in front of others, not texts or even a word behind closed doors. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I had never encountered someone who actually pursued me on a continual basis and doing so by just being a friend. We talked for months the way I would talk to any of my girlfriends. Talked about cases, coworkers, shared silly pic, but nothing that would be considered even flirting. But my guard was down, I was disarmed, and I'm sure he knew it. Then casual comments about liking the way my hair was, or liking the color of my scrubs, or asking if I'd lost weight or something similar. Stupidly, I was flattered. He also constantly complimented me on my work ethic, the way I ran things, pretty much everything I did. And I enjoyed that more than anything he ever said to me, and that's the God's honest truth. We never really had a crossword until I started turning him down. Remember, he was a visiting doc and none of us knew about his escapades at his hospital. He talked about his wife and family often, never disparaging her in any way. We all thought he was a stand-up guy. He met us at runs and even joked around with my DH when he was around. I just didn't see the red flags. When he first really crossed the line, and this is one of the most painful things for me because there are a million ways I should have answered him, and I failed miserably. It was at the end of the day, and this how most days ended, in terms of a closing text from me. It was nothing unusual, just my normal text I would send to any surgeon at the end of the day. He was already upstairs about to start making rounds, and it went like this: me, hey doc, we're all finished up down here. Rooms are set for tomorrow, and your on-call team has been notified and is now at the ready. Let me know if you need anything else before we all get out of here. Him, I just need you. I could have and should have stopped things before they ever got going right then and there, but I was stupid. Really stupid. I simply sent him a smiley emoji and he sent one back, and that's all that was said for several days. But I had given him an open door, and it absolutely positively haunts me like nothing you can imagine. He was smart, he took his time, and little by little I allowed more and more. Still, I didn't really see his true colors until I started pushing back. I was already growing weary of the filthy talk. He wasn't complimenting me anymore. He wasn't talking about running or people or whatever. He was just trying to talk dirty. I called him out on it, and he turned on me. Not hard at first, but once he started trying to get me to meet him places or go somewhere with him and I declined, he lost it. Literally went overnight from come on, let's get serious and find a bed, enough talk to get my damn room set up now. What the hell is wrong with you? Get your crap together. And in the meanest tone possible, and in front of my crew. My eyes were opened and opened big time. I thought, this must be how Eve felt in the garden. I was ashamed. I spent every spare moment running to the bathroom to cry my eyes out and then trying to compose myself to get through the day. I knew I had to get away from him, to get away from that place altogether, so I did. People mention escaping a Pia with a serial cheater. For me, it really is this simple. I wasn't looking for bonding, wasn't looking for love, or any of that. And while my boundaries were poor, I was absolutely not going to sleep with him or even fool around or make out. My morals and values, while compromised, still had a large effect. And I absolutely could have never done that to my DH. If I had, this would have been over 6 years ago because I never could have held that from my husband. His attempt at a kiss was also a big eye-opener and we cooled quite a bit after that. And when he started back, he skipped the pleasantries and went straight for his ultimate goal. It would have ended soon and he knew it. I was pushing back on the dirty talk by now, so he rolled the dice. It took me an incredibly long time to be able to look at myself again as a decent person. And my poor DH, who suspected this guy of being a creep from almost day one, was undeserving of all of this pain. I thought I could protect him, thought I could protect us. I was wrong. He deserved to know, but it had to be on God's timing. Some will call BS on that as well. My comment: modern women in many cases have lost the role as advocate or protector of the relationship, as perfectly demonstrated by you and other stories here. Men need to wake to their role on the chessboard of relationships. Not allow the queen to change roles, move like a horse, only to end up back in the arms of her king protector.